Okay, so we're now in part E of the Catechism, the image restored. Right, so part E, we're at question 22. What has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts, enslaved to sin and Satan, subjected to misery. Therefore, we were no longer able to accurately reflect God. So what has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked. So let's look up Genesis 5, verse 3, please. In whose image was Adam's son?
In Adam's.
In Adam's image. And in what way was Adam different to the way he was originally made in God's image?
He sinned.
He sinned. And you see it says there, see question 13 if stuck. So if you were stuck, you go question 13, which says, what is spiritual death? Separation from God and pollution from sin. So in what way would we say Adam is different to the way he was originally made in God's image?
Separated from God and polluted by sin.
Separated from God and polluted by sin. So Adam's polluted now, right? So now let's go to Genesis 9:6. Thank you. So were Adam's descendants still made in God's image to an extent? Yeah, because it says, for in the image of God has God made mankind. So what we see is that humans are still in the image of God, but the image of God has been cracked. So if you look at that mirror there, you see that mirror is all cracked. If you looked at yourself in that mirror, what would you see? You see a distorted, cracked image of yourself. You would see something. You'd see something of yourself, but it wouldn't be an accurate reflection of what you look like. And the same way, us humans, we're still in the image of God, but it's distorted. Yeah, a lot of theologians in books say it's been marred, but marred just ain't a word that I'm not familiar with. Maybe if you did pottery class in school, you might be more familiar with it. But I really like the term cracked, that it's been cracked. What has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners. So let's look at Romans 5:12. Do you understand that when Adam sinned, it was as if we sinned? So here, I would remind people about the whole Team Adam thing. You know, it's as if we're in Team Adam, and if Adam fouls, the fouls counted against us if we were playing football, yeah? If the team gets relegated, we're all relegated together, yeah? One way of explaining it is it's as if we were inside of Adam when he sinned. You could say almost as if genetically we were inside of him. You could say he was our federal representative, so it's like he represented us and he sinned, and then it's as if we sinned. And again, these are hard for us in Western individualistic culture to understand because our culture is so individualistic. But the Bible has a strong sense of corporate solidarity. If one person sins, it affects everyone. Okay. What has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts. So let's look at Genesis 8:21, please. What does God say about human hearts?
Wicked and evil.
And anything more?
Every inclination of their heart is evil.
Thank you. From childhood, yeah? That's deep, yeah? Every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. Now let's look at Jeremiah 19:7.
You mean 17:9?
What? Yeah, sorry. Jeremiah 17:9. Okay. Is your heart trustworthy? No. I mean, it actually says deceitful above all things. So maybe you grew up being told that MTV was deceitful or pop music was deceitful or whatever. But the whole time, who knew? You had the most deceitful thing within you the whole time, your heart. Beyond cure, yeah. So it's like a faulty GPS, yeah, that takes you the wrong place, right? There used to be this conference in Oxford that some of us used to go to once a year. And I drove a couple of you there, maybe. And the GPS was taking us to this conference in Oxford. And then what happens? Well, we end up, and this was bad, I was desperate to go to the loo. And I was like, if I can just get to this conference. Well, we end up driving into some cul-de-sac somewhere, yeah, and then park outside this house. It says, you have reached your destination. I'm like, this is blatantly not the conference, and there is nowhere to go to the loo here. Gutted. The next year, right? Next year, like I made double sure I had exactly the right information in the TomTom, yeah? I drive, it takes me to the same cul-de-sac again. It's a dodgy GPS, yeah? I trusted it. It took me the wrong way. Well, our hearts are like a dodgy GPS. They're like, yeah, do this. This is the right thing. And we're like, yeah, I'll do it. And it leads us down the wrong path. Very interesting, because in our culture, what do we keep getting told? Follow your heart. Disney films all the time, you know. I love my kids. Like every time we're watching a Disney film and it says follow the heart, they like fold their arms and they're like, that's not true. The heart is deceitful.
How does this tie in now that we have new hearts and new minds being generated? So how does that fit in, that contrast?
Well, we'll come on to that in a few questions, I hope. If we don't, then come back, ask it then. That's a good question. Okay, what has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts, enslaved to sin. Let's look at John 8:34. What is sin described as here? A slave master. Yeah, a slave master. What has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts, enslaved to sin and Satan. Okay, so now let's look at John 8:44. Who is our father if we don't believe in Jesus? The devil. So let's look at 1 John 5:19. How many people are under the devil's control?
The whole world.
The whole world. And then obviously, because it says we know that we are children of God and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one, there's a contrast there. So if you're a child of God, you're not under the control of the evil one. But the world in John's gospel and in the letters of John, the world is often used to talk of a rebellious system that goes against God. So you see, the Rastas weren't too far off when they talk about the system and Babylon, you know, it's like, that's middle grace there. What has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts, enslaved to sin and Satan, subjected to misery. So let's look at Genesis 3:16-24. So list the misery described here. And it's easier to start from the top and then work your way down. Pain in childbirth.
Desire for your husband, that he will rule over you.
Desire for your husband, he will rule over you.
The thorns and thistles that were on the ground.
Thorns and thistles.
They're going to die.
They're going to die.
Hard work.
Hard work, painful toil. Okay. So what has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts, enslaved to sin and Satan, and subjected to misery. Therefore, we were no longer able to accurately reflect God. Let's look at Jeremiah 13:23. Why can't we reflect God accurately no matter how hard we try?
Because we're accustomed to doing evil.
We're accustomed to doing evil, because we've got these deceitful hearts. Now, check it out. Here where it says, can an Ethiopian change his skin? Jeremiah is not implying that Ethiopians are bad, because the next line to explain it is, or a leopard its spots. Now, there's nothing wrong with a leopard. Nothing wrong with a leopard having spots. So he's not making the point, Ethiopians do bad things, can they change their skin? He's just saying, the fact is, remember he's talking to Israelites at this time, so he's saying, the fact is, Israelites, Ethiopians, they can't change their skin, can they? And leopards, they have spots where they can't just make them spots disappear the way they are. In a similar way, we're all sinners and we just can't stop ourselves from being sinners. We don't have the power ourselves to change that. So, what has happened to the image of God in people? When Adam sinned, the image of God became cracked as we became sinners with deceitful hearts, enslaved to sin and Satan, subjected to misery. Therefore, we were no longer able to accurately reflect God. And so I've got some application questions for you to ask one another here, which is, why is it bad to follow your heart? Can you think of ways in which you can at times mirror God and at other times not seem to mirror God at all? What struggles in your life come from you not reflecting God properly? Now, at this stage, I just say, if you're doing the catechism with someone who's been a Christian for years, we all have this temptation when someone asks us these kind of questions to say, well, before I got saved, I wasn't reflecting God properly because I used to do this and that, but now I'm saved. Right? And I encourage people who've been Christians for years, when they do these catechism questions, think of examples in the last few months. Because otherwise we live in this weird fantasy world where we're like, I used to be bad, but now I'm fine. Instead of saying, so for example, some of us, used to like raving, And then we say, well, I used to like raving, but I don't rave anymore. Well, you wouldn't rave now anyway. You're past it now. You're not still going to be raving. You do get some of these guys. I don't know if any of you knew the white guy with the ponytail who was always raving. He was everywhere. And I remember years later, I went to a Back to 89 celebration in Camden, and he was there. He was so old. And I was like, this guy has been around forever. I've been in other parts of the country and seen him there, and people have been like, this guy is everywhere. And he starts trying to break dance on the dancing floor and everything, But most of us, you get to a certain age, and going out raving does not appeal to you anymore. And we can fall into the trap of saying, I used to like raving, I don't do that anymore, I'm so holy. I don't fight anymore. Well, the reality is, if you were still fighting now, you'd be getting beaten up every Saturday night. So instead, it's better to just be like, okay, in the last few months, in what ways have I not been reflecting God? Just unless there's any questions, then let's go through to that.